Chronicles.
Hello boys and girls, gents and women, this is Brown Boy Chronicles, Season 5. A collective of 4 brown boys bringing you the latest updates about life, hot takes on music and fashion, mixed with some clown behavior, and overall just good vibes. Hope y'all enjoy and appreciate y'all tuning in. Enjoy, fam. Alright, welcome to Brown Boy Chronicles. This is episode 9. This is Harvey.
This is Lucky.
And this is KB. Today we have a special guest for you guys. His name is Gurshaan Arora. He works in esports with an organization I think a lot of people have heard of called the FaZe Clan. So he's the social media coordinator for FaZe and FaZe Update. He also works in the competitive Call of Duty scene. So for the people that don't know, Call of Duty is like a massive video game franchise and has like a massive esports scene known as the Call of Duty League, aka like the CDL. This league has like 12 teams made up of like some of the biggest organizations in esports, like FaZe, Optic, and 100 Thieves. So basically, Gurshaan used to work as a social media manager for one of these organizations in the league, known as New York Subliners. But now he works as a social media manager for a podcast that covers these matches that go on in the CDL, known as The Flank. And this is hosted by ex-Call of Duty pro FaZe Zuma. So welcome to the Brown Boy Chronicles.
Hell yeah, dude. That's good gas right there. But yeah, I'm Gurshaan. You can call me Gersh. I just started at FaZe, but we've been working on The Flank for about 2 years now, as we head into May. And it's been a journey so far. So I'm excited to share that with you guys.
I'm a big Call of Duty fan, so I've been watching I know Zoom and all that, so
Yeah.
watching them on Twitch and stuff and their growth is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I think after the first major last month in December, we came back and Tommy was top 25 on Twitch, most subbed. So just once you hit that milestone, it's like holy shit, we're actually there. But regardless, I think it's just the community, dude. They always come through, so it's been dope to see.
Yeah, I feel like the Call of Duty community is such a ride or die too, for decades on
Yeah.
follow, because these pros or ex-pros have been in the community for a decade too. So it's you kind of grow up with them.
Yeah.
Wait, is Tarek Call of Duty or was that? No, I think he was CSGO.
Yeah, he's CSGO and he moved to Valorant.
Dude, everyone's moving to Valorant now, and I feel like the game is not that even good, bro. I feel like the aiming in that game is kind of doo-doo compared to CSGO.
Your
It's
ass.
Dude, it's too forgiving. CSGO, you gotta be good. And I haven't played Valorant in a while, but I remember just playing it and I was like, this is not anything like CSGO.
No, bro, it's weird for sure because Valorant came out, a bunch of people moved over, and everyone thought it was gonna be the CS:GO killer. But CS:GO esports is still huge, and I didn't realize that until I joined FaZe because FaZe are still in CS:GO, and dude, the tournaments are crazy. The one they just had in Brazil, the crowd is straight up like a stadium crowd.
Yeah, I just remember when I got into esports through CS:GO. That's the only FPS I used to play. And back in the day, well, not even back in the day, I think when Source was around, I don't know if you know CS Source. That's what I played most. And then when CS:GO came around and I was just casual. But that's when Stewie 2K and all those motherfuckers were popping off, Tarek, Stewie 2K and all the Team Liquid people. From the American side. And I think there was also rivalry between Europe and America for CS:GO. But then now, I haven't been following it up too much, but I thought everyone switched over to Valorant, but I guess not compared to what you're saying about the Brazil tournaments.
Do you pull up to these tournaments? Do you go to all this kind of stuff as well as being the manager and all that?
Oh, for Call of Duty mostly, yeah.
Oh, sick.
I'm gonna start to expand to other events, but it's just again, just join and wherever it makes sense, they're down to send me. But right now I've been going to all the COD tournaments just because we're still with the Flank, right? This season we've started doing the Flank in person at each COD event instead of just on Twitch at home. So it's been dope to go out there and do it with the league for once.
Dude, I've never been to a COD event, or I've never been to a fucking video game event or esports event. I want to go to one so bad, especially the CS:GO major ones or the COD champs or something like that. Yo, the crowd just looks insane.
Where are you guys located, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Philly.
Philly, okay.
Yeah, I'm also in Philly.
I'm right outside of Philly. I'm in
Dang,
middle.
dude.
I'm in Reading, PA right now. I was living out in Cali for school. I just moved back out here recently in July.
So let's say a week from now, if we get Niners Eagles, who you got?
Eagles, come on, dude.
Dude, nah, hell no, bro. Dude, Brock Purdy's him.
Dude, bro, okay, this is the thing. It's like people are gonna just shit on him once he hits like a bad game, and he hasn't had a bad game yet. He could make a
Yeah.
Foles type of run. I'm not gonna lie, but like he's not Nick Foles.
Dude, I mean that's the ideal scenario, like some crazy Nick Foles shit. I mean, especially if we get to go all the way versus Mahomes, because like we still need revenge from 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I don't know, man. Like I'm just hoping for the best.
2020 was when like they had the comeback, right? They were winning in like the third or fourth, and Mahomes came back.
Yeah, you don't have to remind me, trust.
No, I remember that one too.
Is
Uh,
Garoppolo still like the 49ers guy?
Yeah, he's injured though, thankfully.
Wait, actually, what do you think about Garoppolo? Because I like Garoppolo. A lot of people hate on him so much for no reason. In my
Hmm. For good reason. Fuck that guy.
You hate him? Okay, I think he's good. I think he's pretty good. I think like
I think he's good at like running the ball because he'll just hand it off and we run it because anytime Garoppolo's playing in the playoffs, like you don't want that guy throwing, bro. Every third pass he's gonna throw is gonna be an interception. Like Garoppolo to me is one of the most overrated, overpaid, inconsistent QBs out there. And like I was happy when we started Trey Lance because like okay, finally like we're moving out of that era. Like there's a world for the Niners and Shanahan that exists outside of fucking Jimmy G. Like, bro, I feel like they play him just because he's handsome. Like, he looks good on the camera. But after that, like, as soon as he throws a pick, he's on the bench. Dude. You're not going to see him on cam.
Yo, isn't
So,
that more respectable though? Like, I mean, I don't watch football, but if a pretty boy is running the ball, like he's trying to get tackled, like you got to give him some
oh,
props. Like he's
he's
not.
he's not the one running. He's just the one handing it off to the run.
Oh, I thought he was like
Like,
also
dude,
running.
in 2020 when we made the Super Bowl, like it was because we were just running the ball. Like, they didn't want Garoppolo passing. We had like three running backs get injured during the playoffs alone. Um, one of the stupidest runs I've seen, and like no wonder we broke down like that in the big game.
Mhm.
so. Tell us a little about yourself, like how you came up into this role of being like the social media manager for FaZe as well.
Well, actually, just like Lucky, I started in esports through CSGO. Like my freshman year of high school, all my friends switched over to like PC gaming. I mean, I was still on PS4 for a bit, but like just because of that, they all got into CSGO, and then that translated over to the esports scene. But for me, like playing COD, falling in love with it, and enjoying it a lot more. Some other friends got me into like BO3 esports. And that's when like I first started following Zuma actually, because he was on the team at the time for FaZe. So yeah, I started following COD back then. I like took some time off just because like I wasn't as interested, had other stuff going on in life during like the World War II season. But yeah, came back around like late BO4, early MW, started like interacting more on COD Twitter, I'd say, just because like lockdown, everyone was at home, nothing really to do. So NFL's canceled, NBA's trying to set up the bubble. All I really care about, right? So I'm like, all right, fuck it, full-time COD. One thing leads to another, and like the memes that I'm posting like gets me an opportunity, and yeah, the rest is kind of history.
Do you remember that one particular meme that like that one that stood out that kind of got you the most attention, or like the one that was like kind
Yeah.
of what was it?
Oh, dude. So this is when I wasn't really working for anyone because I got my start through like really small amateur orgs, just like orgs that throw together teams for events and like send them out to lands.
Mhm.
Like literally people you wouldn't have heard of, but the one meme that like got me my first opportunity, and it's because it like blew up on COD Twitter, was it was like a deep fake like face swap of Crim6 doing the WAP.
Oh,
I can link it to you after, bro, but like I don't know. That shit still haunts me sometimes. Crim6 is Cardi B fucking like shaking and shit.
and for the people like they don't know who Crim6 is, he's like the most winning COD player of all time. So he's
Yeah.
So the COD streets were feeling that one, huh?
It was a wild one for sure.
Was it hard for you to like come up with memes, or is it like pretty natural? Does it just like come to you?
It's kind of natural, bro. I mean, like a story I often tell is like growing up, like I didn't really grow up in the best part of town, but like I feel like when you're in like a lot more like diverse, multicultural like area, you grow up with like those guys. Like part of it is just like fucking with each other and having fun. And I feel like just growing up, like riding the bus to and from school, like part of the game is like knowing how to like hold your own when like people are dissing you or like you're roasting your friends and shit. So a lot of that's just natural, dude. Like I mean, we used to have rap battles with kids in middle school. Like there's levels to it, but it's just been like a part of me growing up, and I used to have like an NFL meme page in eighth grade. But everything happens for a reason, and I think like all that just kind of created the perfect storm to make me who I am today.
So how do you know if you're like taking it a little too far? Because like obviously it's the internet. Like it's different when you're with your friends and shit and roasting each other, right?
Mhm.
But it's like the internet. Some people might be like take offense to certain shit. So how do
Yeah.
you know, if this thing that I'm posting might be a little too risky, or like does someone check you, or like do you have someone on your team or something? Like,
I mean, like of course, like there's basic professional boundaries. Like you don't want to get canceled, right? Also, part of like the brand voice for each team like outlines that. I mean, for New York, for example, like we're in a 12 team league. This is when I was on New York. So obviously, like you want to create those storylines, you want to interact with the league, and you want to like bring more viewership, but you also don't want to like attack players directly. So we had like a running rule that was like if we want to like a fuck with the team or just like say something generally like make fun of Optic for getting reverse swept or whatever, right? Like we're gonna do that, but we're not specifically gonna say like, oh, Scump, you suck, right? That's because like we're interacting with the other team account as like a team, but we're not the players, so we're not in a position to directly call out anyone. And so that's something that like we kind of held true. And it's similar at FaZe, but we're like still kind of experimenting with how we interact with other teams. But yeah, like when I was starting off, I for sure like had to run my stuff by like my managers and stuff. And it's also just like the level of trust that you gain once you kind of get adept with it and they can trust like your professional sense.
What's like beef in the esport arena? Like, do people beef with each other, and what does that entail?
like COD pros definitely beef with each other. I think
Yeah.
teams usually don't beef with each other. They'll like, I think the fans beef more in the comments after like if pretend you tweet something out, like
But does anything ever become like physical at like the arena and stuff like that?
back in the old days, yeah, they would.
Back in the old days, yeah, bro. There's a video of like Keemstar fighting someone.
Like people
That's
actually throw hands.
they used to. They used to.
There's a video of Nate Shot, I think getting slapped by Aches or something.
Yeah, Ace like pushed him on stage. Not a lot of that happens anymore, but like there is still a lot of shit talk between the pros. Like they'll have like mini rivalries created just because like someone says something on Twitter and their team plays that weekend, right? So you want to see them go at it. And then I don't know if this counts, but like sometimes the Optic fans will hit me with like death threats and shit. But besides that, not really anymore.
What is like the most spicy death threat you got? Like, what is it? Just like I'm just gonna kill you? Like, I've never gotten a death threat, so I'm like curious to like.
I forget what it was. I know I tweeted about it though. Shit, I can't remember. It was something stupid though.
Like, do they like ever like, yo, I found your IP. I'm coming to like.
Oh
Tell,
no.
tell... Okay, okay. So it's just more generalized, like, yo, you pussy or whatever, and then like
Yeah,
try.
yeah, yeah. It's what you'd expect from like gamer kids. I mean, it's your audience, right? So
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
got
kind
you.
of what it is.
Do you ever like stress about that, or you feel like you have to move different and stuff like that, or you're still kind of like more in the shadows and not
Nah,
worrying
bro, I'm
about
fucking Punjabi, bro. Like, what are they gonna do to me? Just, I mean, they can try, but I'm him.
Where'd you grow up in Cali?
The Bay Area, born and raised here.
Oh, okay, okay.
What do your parents think of that, of your job?
Oh, they're cool with it. I mean, it's just my mom at home, right? So she's pretty chill with like whatever I want to do. I mean, obviously, like I started off as a bio major, but end of the day, like as long as I'm doing something that I'm happy with and that I can work hard towards, so that way one day I can provide for not only her but like my family eventually. Yeah, she's cool with it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, like this generation's moving into like different areas that
Hmm.
is not typical for like Indian kids to go into. Like obviously like, everyone expects you to be a doctor, lawyer, or whatever.
Yeah.
You go into like music or you go into like esports. Like it's so different now, and I always like wonder because you're technically a generation younger than us, even though like we're like 27 roughly 20
Hmm.
and you're 21, but even that there is a small generational gap.
Yeah.
Probably not in the way we speak and stuff, but it's in terms of like I feel like the professions because
The expectations, I think, are a little bit more
Yeah.
drifting now. Expectations, us growing up were like more like, yo, you have four choices, trying to follow those four
I see. I
choices.
still had that. I think just like, well, I mean, bro, like I had to kind of like fight against it with my mom. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you guys can probably imagine like single mother, right? So she like basically her future's kind of riding on me. So it was a matter of like kind of having to prove it to her first. Obviously like there was still that pressure, like, but yeah, I
Was she
think
involved in like all the steps? Like, I mean, I don't know how much you can delve into this, but like
Mhm.
say like contracting, right? Like you're 21, probably never seen a contract like that before. Like, are
Yeah.
you having to like lawyer up and like do all that kind of stuff? And or are you just still like kind of just you and your mom's like trying to just figure it out?
Wait, is it like
Yeah.
a regular job or is it like a contract first of all? Because
No,
like
it's a full-time job.
that's a full time.
I was in contract work before, just because like basically teams will put you on contract until they decide to move you to full time. And so that's the decision I made like this offseason. Like I was gonna either go full time with New York or explore my options out there. And like FaZe approached me, so I was like, all right, why not just go to FaZe? But yeah, I would run stuff by her, right? At the end of the day, like I'm doing it with her support. And that's what family's for. But yeah, like it wasn't really something that like I introduced to her and told her I was serious about until like I proved to myself too that like, things are going great with New York. Like it's fleshing out to be like something that I could see doing for like my future. And yeah, I think it's still been kind of difficult because obviously like our parents like coming directly from India, like they don't really have that knowledge of the industry, and they can't just like take my word for it and say, okay, yeah, like esports is profitable, there's a future in it. Because for them, like I had to tell my mom what Twitch is, right? So
Yeah, I want to
there's
know how
it's
you
like,
explain what a meme is to your mom, bro.
dude, I don't even know if I've been able to do it successfully still.
I feel
So
Disney parents probably know what memes are. On the WhatsApp groups we pop and they
yeah.
definitely passing around memes in the WhatsApp groups.
फोटो दे ऊपर लिख
Yeah,
क्या कुछ
exactly.
Especially with like TikTok and stuff now too. Like I feel like most of my parents are just on TikTok at the end of the day too.
Yeah, bro. My mom like doesn't really use social media anymore, so that's been like part of it too. She used to use Facebook, right? But this is like 2010s. But I mean, yeah, like we're in a good spot now. Planning a move to LA actually, like next month. So it's been going good.
Is she coming with you?
No,
Oh.
it's for work. So
Oh, okay,
yeah.
got you. Wait, so like, what it like when like I'm sure you had these conversations with her, be like, hey, like
Mhm.
you first now proved yourself, like you're getting like making an income doing this, but like when you try to like explain to her like the long-term trajectory, have you ever had those conversations with her, like what your like end goal is, or is it just like kind of more so like you're living in the moment and she now is coming to terms that you're just taking it moment by moment?
I think it is more moment by moment. For her, not for me.
Hmm.
But I think part of that for me is just to work harder to get to that next step and that next level of growth, so that way I can bring that back. And again, like same thing as always, like connect that back to showing her that this is something that I can do long term and have it be profitable.
So like a follow-up question, what is like something that you're aspiring to do within like the next 5 years, if you can like kind of give a glimpse of, or is it just like kind of growing on what you're doing, like your own brand, or like bring like growing phase and
Mhm.
both combined?
Well, obviously, like my day to day is always going to be like working towards growing phase and doing what I do on socials. But I think that for me is more of like a short term thing because eventually I want to shift over to content. Not like on my own, obviously, like doing that with phase and working things in like the esports side of things. But um, yeah, I think my ultimate long term goal is to like be a content creator, whether it's under an org or whether it's just like working for myself. But until then, like the social's going great, and I think like the growth is always there with the things we're doing on the day to day.
What would be your content like esports or like more of just like comical, like comedian kind of stuff?
Man's about to do an IRL stream, bro.
Yeah. No, I think for like if I'm doing it under phase, obviously it'd be tied into esports. Like that's my area of expertise. That's something I can do naturally. But I think for me, especially like getting out of the house and like moving out, I want to kind of challenge myself to do content that I feel like I'd enjoy and see how that translates. I mean, I'm thinking just like variety stuff because I'm down to talk anything from music to esports to football to cooking. Like,
No,
it's
that's
just a matter
sick.
of figuring it out and like trial by fire, just figure it out by doing. And yeah, that's the goal.
So how hard is it actually? Like I feel like when people say, "Oh, I'm a social media manager," people like
Hmm.
kind of discredit them and saying like, "Oh, that's easy. You just post on social media." Like, it's like kind of like being a content creator. Oh, you just gotta create content, right? Like people shit on them like on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. What like goes into like almost like your day to day or like because I feel like you have to be on top of a lot of shit, right? You want to post shit before other teams get to it. So like, what's like the day to day for being a social media manager?
I mean, it depends like who you're working for and what you're doing. I mean, obviously, like the base outline of being a social media manager is like I mean, in esports, what match coverage, right? Like you post about your games when they happen, but then it's like, do you want to take that extra step and start creating memes around those games? Or do you want to take that extra step and start doing like player interviews? Do you want to take that like third step and do like a docuseries, right? So when you're working under a brand that's already made those like advances, but also like in turn created those expectations for what they do on a day-to-day for their content, it's a matter of like fitting into that, right? So like I joined FaZe and all of a sudden it's like, okay, yeah, I'm doing match coverage, but like I'm also making a meme for our post game if we win. I have to post all these player interviews. I have to like worry about tracking where we are in the tourney and providing those updates to our fan base as well. And then there's like the whole other side of it where it's like, yeah, everyone out there is an esports team, but who's going to get ahead and like capitalize and create content around things that are coming up like unpredictably? Like let's say the fight that just happened this weekend, right? Like the KSI Temper whole undercard too. It's like if you are going to take the initiative to go out there and create something that will be more engaged with around that like fight, then yeah, like you're going to profit off of it. You're going to maintain that status as like one of the better social teams. But if you're just going to be like layman esport org and say, okay, cool, this event's happening, but we're not going to grow our presence by interacting with it, then at the end of the day you miss out. So I feel like it's just it's a very like attention heavy on the spot kind of job. There's times where like outside of work hours, like I'll be on my phone editing something just because like news comes out at like 11 p.m. Like for example, the optic stuff that's happened, like right, like Dashi announcing that um
Like
he's
public
benched.
hiring and stuff.
Yeah, like I think the examples I'm talking about like present themselves a lot more easily on the flank because the flank is like Call of Duty news alongside like the show that we do. And I mean that's a good example, right? Like it's socials is very much like if you put in the work for it, it'll give you the results like back to you. For the flank, it's a podcast, it's a Call of Duty show. I could sit there and literally just post like clips from the show and when the show's live. But it's also again back to the same thing. Do I want to take that initiative to cover Call of Duty news, create memes around things happening, create posts around Scump retiring, and at the end of the day, like that's the feedback you get. Like the Scump retired, right? I could have just posted, "Yo, guys, Scump's retired. He's out. GG's." But nah, dude, like we within that hour we posted like I think 4 or 5 times, and if you scroll back, like all those posts bang like 20K, 15K, 16K. So
Wait, I
yeah,
have a question for you. So like how do you know like so when it comes to like I don't want to say like job security, but let's just say like you have like a week or 2 weeks of your memes just not hitting. Is there like certain expectations kind of set for you, or is it just more so like you just have to post stuff and the meme stuff like it's expected you to do it, but if they don't like hit, it's okay. And like how do they kind of evaluate you on like what your performance?
well, I think that's where like the other side of the job benefits you because it's not just memes, right? Like you're also
Mhm.
putting out sponsored posts and like writing copy for deliverables. You're doing match coverage and you're also like presenting things from inside the org and brainstorming ways to like do player announcements, team announcements, all that. So it's like, yeah, you could have your memes not hit, but you're also doing this like other 90% of a job, and your performance at the end of the day is gonna be measured on if you're performing your role, right? The memes and stuff is just like extra cherry on top.
So
How
actually,
many platforms are you covering yourself? Like you're doing Twitter, you're doing Instagram, you're doing TikTok, you're doing Twitch, like all of that?
I'm
Or
I'm mainly doing Twitter and Instagram, and then if it counts, Twitch, right? Because we're like clipping stuff during matches, but mainly those two because esports exists very heavily around Twitter.
mm-hmm.
So
And then how do you differentiate like your social life from that professional life of being social media, like so involved?
I think it's been easier now. If you'd asked me the same question when I was first starting, like it was a lot harder to differentiate that because it was very much so like fueled by passion, but also like I really wanted to like get that opportunity to make it a career, right? Whereas now at FaZe, like the benefit I have is I have a team around me, so it's like I clock on 9 to 5, I do my thing, and after that, like I'm free. But I think the biggest contributing factor is just the fact that like I have other people with me instead of just like New York where I was the main point of socials for the subliners. Um,
I was gonna ask you this. So like being so from going from the New York subliners, right? Which
yeah.
is Call of Duty people know who they are, but it's not like FaZe, 100 Thieves, and Optic. Now you're on FaZe, like with the, I feel like there's added pressure. Do you feel that pressure? Because it's like you're competing with 100 Thieves, you're competing with Optic, like these big, like American esports leagues
Mhm.
now.
I think, I mean, I'll credit like the people at New York for helping me like get the growth to the point where I am, because a lot of like the mentality we shared there helped prepare me for FaZe, in the sense that like, yeah, no, it's like I'm on the same level as Optic 100T, like in general as an organization. But the goal at New York, and I think the reason why we were so successful at New York, was because like we were always trying to create a splash in that pool of bigger organizations. Great example of it is like the Ask Your Sister tweet, right? Like nobody in the general scope of Twitter really knew who Subliners was unless you exist as a COD fan. But you see that and it's like, holy shit, they fucked up this random dude from FaZe, right? And I mean, shout out to Blaze, like that's my guy. But um, that was always like the goal, and I feel like doing that now as a part of FaZe like kind of prepared me, because it's like I no longer have like I don't have to worry about, oh, like I'm now competing with Optic and 100T, because that was always the mindset.
Like, do you mind
Um,
explaining that Ask Your Sister meme? Because that was one
yeah.
picture of his, like you met her in high school or something, and you had a picture of her.
Yeah. So this like basically the preface of it is like 2017, I was studying for my like AP European history test at like a local Starbucks. It's the FaZe Blaziken. He's from like the town next to my hometown. So growing up, he joined FaZe when he was in high school. Everyone always knew him and like his sister, because his sister was in his videos. So she was like walking by, and like I was with my friends, and it was like, holy shit, it's FaZe Mia, let's get a picture, right? So we got that picture. And then 5 years later, 2022, um I think the original tweet like was a random FaZe Blaze tweet at like 1 p.m. my time. He tweeted like ass her tits, right? Like he's just trolling and shit. And so off the Subliners account, I replied with gaming, right? And so he follows up and he says, what version is running the Subliners account? So the gears start turning, and I'm like, wait, like I gotta say something about his sister, right? But I have the picture and shit too, so I pull that out, throw it up to my friend who like edited the picture, because if you look at the original picture, like it's me in high school, patchy ass beard, I look kind of grimy. Faded sweatshirt, because I'm just like in my like sweats, local Starbucks chilling, trying to study, crunch for the test. But he edited it, threw on like a New York logo, everything. At the end of the day, it worked out, it popped off, and yeah,
Did he respond to that?
he did. He responded with like, make sure your boss gives you a raise or something. And it's funny because when I joined FaZe, like that day, we kind of played into it. We tweeted at him off the FaZe account saying like, "Good morning, at Blaze. How are you?" And I'm pretty sure he responded with like, "I'm good. How are you?" And we said, "Ask your sister," right? So just a fun callback. But it's been cool because like that definitely was the highlight of the past year, and it took off. But I think the understanding that like I showed, and I think what people also understood, was like it's always like a balance of celebrating your successes but chasing the next big thing, right? So for me, it was like, yeah, I had that tweet pop off, but like that's not what I want to be the peak of me doing social media. I want to find new goals, set new goals, and achieve those. And I think moving to FaZe was a clear indicator for that. So
So when you go to LA, are you gonna be like in a content house, or are you gonna be living by yourself? Like I know,
by,
like
my,
you
by
said,
myself.
okay, okay. Are you
Yeah.
trying to like eventually get to that position where you like go into a content house, create content with other phase people, or is it just more so like, are you trying to like still be in the COD scene, or you want to just use COD scene as like more of like a building block for your own thing and eventually like kind of shift out of COD? Or is COD always going to be like kind of your like bread and butter for the most part, and then everything else will be supplemental?
Um, I think, well, starting off, dude, like content's always going to be a hobby for me, just like on the side. Although there's opportunities for it like within FaZe, as I'm like, because I work on the marketing side, but also the esports side. So if I'm out at an event and like they need someone to help like interview people, right? Like I'll be there. That's part of the plans we have for the future. But yeah, like the whole content house thing, that's just like down the line, like if it makes sense, if there's an opportunity that I see. But otherwise, like me pursuing content is just gonna be more so like out of passion and out of like personal desire to do it, and then see where it goes. But until then, I'm gonna be engaging with the community. I'm gonna be rooted in COD and doing socials, and yeah, just experimenting, seeing where things go.
And now a quick word from our sponsors. Have you thought about starting a podcast but didn't know where to begin? If so, I'm here to tell you about this free tool called Anchor. Anchor allows you to create and edit your podcast from both your phone and the computer. On top of that, it distributes your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other locations, so you don't have to do it manually yourself. And if you thought that wasn't enough, it also allows for monetization, so you can actually make money from your podcast. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, so what's your favorite meme right now?
Fair meme? Like, what do you mean?
It doesn't have to be like Call of Duty. Like for me, it's the like all over TikTok and Twitter, it's the LeBron James meme where everyone's just
Oh shit. Uh, I think one that gets me a lot, and it's just because I'm a football fan, is the fucking Burger King one, where like something tragic. Because you know, like, well, it stemmed from the whole like Damar Hamlin thing, right? Like, he unfortunately like had the medical issue, and then it was kind of funny because it cut to commercial, and the first commercial that comes up is this stupid like way too happy fucking Burger King ad where like dude comes in and goes like Whopper, Whopper, well, like all that. So it's funny because people have used that to like kind of play off of it. Like I saw one recently where it was like Scump retiring and it was like him crying in the video, fades to black, waits like 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden Whopper, Whopper, Whopper. Right? So that's one I like right now.
Dude, my favorite one is like, I don't know if you guys remember. It's like an old school one. I don't know if it gets used, but it's like that chubby black dude where it's a peace sign and you have 4 panels and he fades at the very last one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. That shit always gets me because that dude is in like Atlanta. Well,
Yeah.
that one always like gets to me.
Harvey, you got a favorite meme?
I mean, the most recent ones that have been cracking me up is that chick that like banged like the whole police department.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what?
Well,
She's like
people
sitting at
been
the table
going
in the picture.
off on her. Yeah,
Yeah.
yo. Like, there's just so many with her.
Wait, what happened? What is
There's
this?
this like one white chick from like Tennessee. She's a police officer. She's married.
Mhm.
And she banged like 7 other police officers within her department. Like they
Yeah.
all ran a train.
What the
and
fuck?
they're also all married.
What is going on in Tennessee, bro? They're drinking too much whiskey.
It's like it's just it's like a random article that just like went viral, right? Because it's like a story about this chick who like banged the whole police department. And so what people have done is like now you'll see tweets where it's like oh, you're getting arrested, right? And then the dude will say like, oh, I don't want to go in, and it'll be like, oh, but this is the officer. And it's like a picture of that chick, right? So stupid shit like that,
Yeah. And she's not even bad, yo. Like
yeah, that's the thing.
I gotta
like,
look this up.
she's way below mid. Like, oh my god. So FaZe obviously is like crazy huge right now on like collabs and stuff, right? Like you guys just got the Porsche collab, which is insane, right?
OVO.
Yeah, OVO too. You as being like having the Punjabi background, you think would have any influence in trying to like maybe work on a potential collab with somebody in our industry, in the Punjabi influencer industry? And if so, who's up there for you? Who would you see like would be dope for you to see like FaZe collab with?
I mean, I would hope so. Like we had a meeting recently. We're just like going to the new year. We were pitching them ideas, and I mean, obviously, I told them like because I'm very into like just the whole hip hop culture and like that side of things. So I was telling them like, yo, if we get in the music industry, I think we only scale up from there. I mean, dude, like even FaZe collabing with like a K-pop group, I feel like would be astronomical just because like they have so much gas, right, from their fan base.
Blackpink.
I mean, Blackpink, yeah. They're at Coachella this year, dude. That's crazy. But you know who else is at Coachella?
Diljit.
Exactly, yeah, the Punjabi Drake, bro.
That's AP,
my-
bro. That's not Diljit.
It's
Punjabi Drake's like-
Diljit. What are you talking
Yeah,
about, bro?
I went to the AP concert recently too. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, I saw you had
Um,
like backstage passes and all that, like VIP and everything.
Yeah, VIP.
Was it worth it? I heard he wasn't that great like live, but right, Nav came out. You went to the SF show?
Oh yeah.
Nav came out there, right?
Yeah, dude. So that's the thing. Like, I thought he wouldn't be great live, but he was actually really good live.
Really?
And people were saying that because apparently, like, well, he was supposed to perform all those shows in November, but he hurt his hand, so they got postponed. And people are saying like, oh, he's gonna be like limited mobility, all of that. But no, the shows were sick. Yeah, Nav came out. That was like pretty sick for me.
Did he like put on a show or like what was that interaction
No,
like?
no, no. It was like Nav was there to see the concert, so he just like came down and said hi, showed some love. Yeah. So that was dope.
Yo, I never understood problem like him like lip syncing because like every artist does that. Like I don't know why they're like going in on AP's ass just because he had like background vocals going on while he was like singing on top of it. Every fucking artist does that.
It's a big thing in the Punjabi community.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, my dad used to like sponsor like some concert too, and like I remember Amrinder Gill came on, and people were yelling at him for lip syncing and stuff. It's like you like if you're like an actual Indian artist or Punjabi artist,
But
you have to,
nobody
like,
does that, especially in like rap and hip hop. Everybody always has their tracks playing in the background.
It's like the cultural thing, right? Because like, bro, back in the day, what used to happen too is like musical artists would come to like your local band, right? And they're just like performing on the mic there, and that's part of like the element of it, like seeing them perform live. So I feel like it's hard for people to bridge the gap between like that experience culturally and then because obviously it's an older generation thing. Like for us, like we know that's just what happens now, but it's hard for them to see that and then bridge it over to now where like you have AP with like fucking flashing lights and shit, lip syncing.
Bro, I never understood like how my parents like define a good Punjabi voice. Like, cause I show them some Punjabi artists, like his
Mhm.
voice is not that good. Why is he so like famous? And to me, like how do you even define that? Like they have a different like metric of like what a good Punjabi voice is. Like you know how like in like American music you have someone like that can hit high notes like The Weeknd and all
Mhm.
that shit. They use that as a metric of like, oh, that motherfucker can hold vocals. I
Yeah.
can never understand how like our Punjabi parents like define a good voice because they just I don't know, they
I
just
think
do
it's the
like
inflections. Like usually it's like the ending of like the words and stuff, the inflections that people have. Like Sidhu had like those inflections, even though he's like singing
Mhm.
doing rap, he had those like kind of like singing rap verses at the end or like lines at the end where he'd have these inflections and stuff.
I feel like part of that's probably because like they're used to like Punjabi folk music, right?
Yeah.
Where like a
Mhm.
lot of that is like holding out like the note and shit. But yeah, I think one thing I like about my mom is not that I only like one thing about her, but like what I appreciate about her music taste is like she'll like a song if it has like a nice beat and like she can tell like it's made well, right? So that's how I've been able to like get her to listen to like Garden Ojala and shit.
Yeah.
But she's also pretty open-minded.
Yeah,
And
I think a
I
lot of our
think
parents don't like the lyrics of like
the
what.
lyrics, yeah.
Dude, every song I put on, my dad's just like, it's just badmashi. It's just badmashi. Like that's they're like, yo, like what do you expect? They're just emulating rap. They're just trying to be
Yeah.
Punjabi gangsters.
Yeah.
Nah, it's like she has a pretty open mind to it, so I'm cool with it.
So you're gonna the Diljit at Coachella?
The Jeep, yeah. Well, dude, the thing is, I think if FaZe does like a collaboration with like an Indian artist, it would have to be someone who's like very like international, right? Like
Yeah.
even AP, I feel like is just starting to be, but he doesn't sell out arenas like Diljit does, right? So
He's not on that level.
yeah.
Next year.
I mean, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it, but I feel like business wise, the thing that would make the most sense would be like a Bollywood artist, right? Someone out there, but
Yeah.
Sonu Nigam.
But fuck all that, yo.
so dude, you see the FaZe logo pop up? Suraj hua madam. No,
It'll have to be someone like Ranveer, what's his name? Singh, I think.
yeah, no,
One that
I
like goes to
think,
NBA games and stuff, like
yeah,
but I find that so cringy.
Is that the Toronto dude with the bug?
No,
nah.
bro,
Hollywood
what?
actor, bro. Yeah,
What?
Oh,
no, this man is so lost on
Yo, this guy's so out of the loop always.
well, you said basketball games, and I'm thinking of like that only the Punjabi
He's
dude at
thinking
like
of the
Toronto
Raptors fan, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I think it's like there's a future there for sure. Because bro, a lot of Bollywood music too now is like coming from the Punjabi music industry.
Bro,
Like
that's
they're
because they
remaking
rip us
songs.
off. Like this,
Yeah.
like it's all bullshit. I hate the Bollywood industry. Like it pisses me
Yeah.
off, yo. It's a straight rip off, and then they just clown our asses like in movies and shit too. Like
Yeah.
there's no like mutual respect. If they just jack our music, and then like there's no like giving back to the community or whatnot from their standpoint.
I think for me as a fan of like just the Punjabi music industry, I think my biggest thing is I wish that if they're remaking a song, like why not just have the original artist perform it, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Like
yeah.
why do you have to have fucking like Neha Kakkar like do a remake Diljit's verse fucking all horny and shit, right? Like just have the original song, dude, but I don't know.
No, facts. I think Diljit's doing a good job of like breaking into the industry and like actually
Yeah.
representing appropriately and like
With
properly.
that Tory Lanez collab and stuff.
Mhm.
Even
Mhm.
though, Tory Lanez isn't
Yeah, but like even Sidhu, dude, like he got like co-signed by Drake on his Instagram story and everything. Like
Facts. Bro,
that,
did he played like Sidhu tracks like before I think which album dropped? It was it was before her loss. Yeah.
yeah,
At the KSI boxing event this weekend, the DJ like has like a TikTok and stuff. He played a bunch of Sidhu and stuff
Really?
in the UK. Yeah, yeah,
in the
Oh shit.
UK, yeah, he's
Yo,
out
is
there.
this the event where Salt Poppy was fighting?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yo, that shit was so funny. That goofy ass motherfucker, bro.
dude, that guy's a raw, bro.
Dude, he's actually nice at boxing too. I saw
Mm-hmm.
the fight with that other white dude that he like the dude was like double his size. Like he was jacked as fuck. And like Salt Poppy was just like clowning his ass in the ring. He was just like, just mocking him and at the same time just like he just like had that, that sauce, the boxing sauce that I would not expect like a influencer to have. It was just very surprising.
That's always been the story about him, bro. Like he's kind of the most consistent when it comes to that too, because like for example, Slim, he's one that blew up because like he knocked out Face Temper, right? And people will say like in that moment, oh, this influencer has like boxing knockout power. But then like his next two fights have all gone to a decision because it's like that power didn't really translate to other opponents. Whereas like Salt Poppy, every fight he's had, he's always like bringing the big hits and doing the fucking running and shit on
Yo, he
stage.
just looks so goofy, bro. It's just like his
Yeah.
curly ass hairs, like but he just his left hook is so mean. Like it's like what's his name? Ryan Garcia. The way that he hit that other dude, but man, just cracks me up every time after he finishes. He puts on those like glasses too. He
Yeah.
does that little like hand thing, and
Yeah.
oh my god,
We saw Papi was like the guy that on TikTok popped off from the running meme, right? Where he had some
Yeah.
yeah.
background, he would run. Oh, okay, that's him. Okay.
He's pretty pudgy too.
Yeah. No, he lost so much weight
Oh
compared
really?
to like when he originally blew up. Yeah. I don't know if I have a picture off the top of my head, but
Yo, he's like what's that other heavyweight chubby motherfucker that beat AJ?
or Andy Ruiz
Andy
Jr.
Ruiz, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he,
yeah.
he he's got like the Andy Ruiz sauce, like where like you don't see him as a typical boxer figure, but like
Hmm.
he just got that power and that speed, which is like unreal. Like I just don't know where he pulls that shit out of him.
Has him and Jake Paul happened?
Nah, it probably won't, dude, because I feel like he doesn't have as much clout.
Hmm.
It should, but
I feel like he needs a couple I mean obviously I don't watch boxing like that, but
mhm.
like when you see like a professional boxer compared to like these influencers, you can see like how some of them just like don't know what the fuck they're doing. But like
Mhm.
Salt Poppy, like he was like switching stances because I think he was doing like southpaw and then like other like he actually had some of the fundamentals of boxing like down pat. And like even the comments were saying, yo, like his boxing skills, like for influencers, like he's just got that natural talent. And I mean, I haven't really watched Jake Paul's fights except for like I forget the one where he knocked everyone out, but the very first one, that's like the only one I remember. But like I
Versus
didn't think Jake
Deji.
Paul was anything. Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
didn't think that was anything special.
So he's grown since then. He's for sure improved. I mean, that's my thing. Like I do watch boxing like that. Like I get kind of pretentious about it, but like bro, like I will overanalyze this shit for like 3 hours straight. So it's cool for me to watch the events and see like people actually improving. Um And so Jake Paul, like as much as I hate to say, he is the real deal, but that's what fucks it up. Like he can't get like the matchup he should because all these creators who are like rising and actually have that skill, like they're smaller, right?
Hmm.
So it's like for someone like Salt Poppy, I feel like he'd have to like have a few more fights where not only does he get tested in like different styles, but he fights like people who are more popular. And then that way, like he grows as a result of that. And then they can set up a fight where it's like, okay, fucking our Filipino king doing the running and fucking hand rubbing versus Jake Paul.
Dude, that name is just top tier. That shit just cracks me up. Yo, how do you feel about Tank and Garcia, Ryan Garcia?
It's the kind of thing where like if they make it happen, I'll be happy with it, but I also don't think it will because I mean KSI had a really good point about this. Like the issue with professional boxing right now, like as in non-influencer boxing, is they have problems setting up fights, and I don't know, it's probably just like the business side fucking it up. But
Do you think
for
Floyd fucked it
example,
up?
I don't think Floyd did. I think it's just the promoters that did. Like Eddie, like okay, this is gonna be me like throwing shots, but like Eddie Hearn, like the reason I don't like that guy is because I think he kind of like botched the whole AJ thing. Like I think AJ fought Usyk too early, and like now his stock isn't there. Whereas like an AJ Tyson fight would have made more sense. But then like it's not just Eddie Hearn, it's Tyson's promoters and how they handle things. As in Tyson Fury, right? Obviously, but um,
I also think Wilder should have fought AJ
yeah,
way,
100%.
way before the second Tyson Fury fight.
Yeah, the reason people wanted like Tyson Fury AJ after the third fight was because like you had all the belts in that fight. Like AJ had like two belts and then Tyson had like three, like the lineal whatever, WBC heavyweight. So it's like whoever would have won that fight would have literally had like all the major belts in boxing. And they just didn't make it happen. So it's like the business side always screws it over, which is why like I do appreciate the influencer boxing for that point because it's like you can make things happen if it makes sense.
So like when you become a creator, do you think you're gonna go to Creator Clash? Throw
Creator,
hands?
you want me to fight?
I don't know.
I
Do
mean,
you want to
hey,
fight?
if the Optic fans sending me death threats really do want to show their faces, maybe we
Sheesh.
can make it
Square
happen.
up, square up.
Yeah.
No, the only reason I said Floyd, I don't know if this was always the case, like when Tyson was like coming up like in the 90s and shit like that, but I feel
Uh-huh.
like Floyd with that 50-0 record, now like if you just have one L, it just like kind of ruins your whole like career,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that was the same case prior to like Floyd. Was it like since you're like a boxing connoisseur?
Not necessarily. I think like the money in boxing is a lot more there now, right? So the stakes are too. Um, Boxing at its core is always going to be like, yo, let's get the fight that makes the most sense like out there. But then you have like issues with brand deals, right? Like you have like DAZN versus Showtime versus like all like I mean Floyd started his own promotion thing, right? KSI's Misfits now. Um, so I think the business side of boxing has like come into play a lot more like in the Floyd era, right? Like that's why he's fucking Money Mayweather because he has those like multi-million dollar fights. So
Yeah, I think I sent the TikTok to KV.
yeah.
It was like last week. I think they were watching a football game and some random bystander was walking by. It's like, "Hey, Floyd, I beat your ass." And then you just see Floyd smirking and just going into like a mean mug phase, like just eyeing him down. Uh, yeah, you think Floyd actually going broke?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't know, bro. Like I've seen like some examples of him like not spending his money in the most like productive ways, but I feel like he has too many people around him to like
Yeah.
not take what like $60 million and put it somewhere that like matters, right?
I'm pretty
And
sure
I
he has
mean,
real estate and all that.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, bro. Like at the end of the day, if even if his bank account does get emptied, he has like what like 30 fucking houses, bro.
I saw some
Just
ridiculous video like that.
yeah,
He was like making like, oh, he's like he made some crazy ass claim like I'm making like over $1 million. No, I think it was like $100 million a month or some shit, or some kind of
yeah.
like crazy ass deal.
I
But
do think like there's probably something there because there's no reason for him to fight like random
That's what I was
people.
saying. Yeah, he goes to Japan and does like these exhibition matches and like, bro, like you're the 50-0, like you are like quote unquote like the best boxer alive, like with the 50-0
Yeah.
record, whether like people hate him or like him, like but so there's no reason for you to do exhibitions
Yeah,
like
but if
in
you're making
Japan.
millions,
I
bro.
mean, maybe it's
That's
just for the
true. Like
fun
it's
of
just free
it,
money for him. Yeah,
love of the game. Like, I mean,
that's
he probably
true.
just enjoys it. But I mean, that's insane, yo. One fight, like five. He's made what? Made 500 million, like for one flight, right? Right. That's like
Yeah.
last couple have been like that. That's actually wild to think about.
Yo, I do have a question. So like besides boxing, I do have like a specific question I want to ask you about esports in general. Because
Mhm.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think personally franchising, so franchising is like, like each city has their own team. Basically like,
Yeah.
like Dallas Cowboys, so it's like the Dallas Empire. I mean, not
Mhm.
anymore, but uh do you think franchising ruins esports? I think it does, in my opinion, in terms of one, you don't get too much talent from like the lower leagues, right? So it's like kind of like
Yeah.
secluded right at the top. It's like the top pros want to stay in and like they have their own. So you don't get the talent as much. And I think in general, like you don't get these teams that could beat these pro teams, like the bottom tier pro teams,
Mhm.
like coming in and like just ruining their day and taking their spot or something. Like back in the day, it used to be like a free for all, right? You go to an event,
Yeah.
there's like hundreds of teams and you just compete. And you get these like weird ass teams. Like I forget there was this panda team that came and almost ruined.
Oh, Lightning Pandas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tough, bro. That's a loaded question. I think the main issue with that is like we haven't seen franchised esports play out like massively because I mean, for example, COD League started like what 2020, And then they had COVID, right? So you can chalk like the first like 2 years because we didn't get events until, I mean, the late second year, Cold War, and even those were like first one had no spectators, last one did. Um, so you can give them the benefit of the doubt there. I think the main thing is you have to have a good like secondary tier to your esport. For example, like COD, you have challengers, but I feel like the support isn't really there. Like that's why orgs are invested in challengers, and that's why you don't get these like built out teams of people who could be the next up and coming talent. You just have like one or two players that get picked up every year, and it's okay. Oh, like the guy Fries, he like if he pops off, he pops off. If he doesn't, like his career is basically ruined because he doesn't have that support in the lower level. Whereas like Valorant has a VCT game changers, so it's like they just set up their franchise league. But if you're not in it, you're in the second tier, which all these orgs are still sticking around for, right?
And even with the Valorant, it's more like the Premier League it's like for soccer, whereas like the bad
Yeah.
go down, the upper like the good teams go up. But I think Valorant's just like all the teams at the top stay, but like the challenger teams, like people competing against like hundreds of teams, still have a chance to go up. So I think
Yeah.
they're in terms of like, yo, you have these teams coming up, and it's more structured like that soccer Premier League,
Mhm.
instead of like, oh, like
Wait, so
this is it.
KB, so is franchising meaning you just have a cap of like teams in the league and that
Yeah,
just is it?
franchising, you pay for a spot. There's a certain amount of spots. Like NFL has 32 spots. You're not gonna get another fucking NFL team right now.
Oh, okay. So like if all of us like us four like wanted to band together like create a team, we wouldn't be able to do so because of franchising.
I mean, if you have 25 mil, let me know.
Even if you had the money, you wouldn't be able to right now.
Yeah, you'd have to like buy a spot out of the 12 that they have right now for COD.
Yeah, so if franchising isn't there like in a esports like gaming, like you could like kind of create your own team and then go through like opens like kind of place yourself into like the upper echelon of competitive gameplay rather than
Yeah.
having to like go and okay, got it.
So that's still there in COD, but it's only for the secondary scene. And so the issue with that is like you can have that, but then it doesn't really translate to much besides like cups on the weekends that get you 2K for first place or like the occasional pro-am. And I think the best iteration of that we saw was like the first major where they had it so out of like the 12 pro teams that were playing, you also had four of the top teams from like the amateur scene, like people who can just like hop in pool play and make it up there, like
The thing
competing
about
with
that
the
is
pro
it's
teams.
not every event. Like if that was every event, even champs,
Then it
that
makes sense, yeah. But until it's every event, until you have like a fleshed out thing where anyone who's participating in the amateur scene gets that same attention to shine in front of like pro teams, but also sponsors and viewership, like no orgs are gonna want to invest in the lower scene. It's like either you're part of the 12 people club or you're just like unsupported out there. And it's sad, dude, because you'll see like pros who aren't in one of the 12 teams like playing in challengers and all of a sudden they can't go to events because they don't have funding. Like they can't fly out the people they're teaming with to these events because they don't have like those investments behind them. So it's just a matter of like needing to structure that a bit more.
Yeah, I have another question to ask you guys. So I'm thinking about like the league scene. So when I like started playing League of Legends, I like kind of came up with the scene. So like I felt like I had like an emotional connection. Like some of these like pro players, you see them like they'd just be like, us just regular kids just
Yeah.
like dicking around and there's no like professionalism or anything. They're just like it's just like you're learning as you're going to, and you kind of grow up with them. Now that I'm getting older and all those pros are kind of retiring, I'm like kind of, I don't have that much of an attachment to like that scene as much. Like obviously I'll still watch their streams, like the people that I actually did enjoy back in the day, like a Double Lift is one of the pros like from League of
Yeah.
Legends that I just like if he's streaming I'll watch it. How is that like now in like COD and like all these other like is it still kind of the same? Like I felt like our like KB, like maybe your age group, like our age group, like is the ones that kind of grew up with like the esports scene. Like we grew up together. You like maybe six
I
or
mean,
7 years young.
I grew up with like Nate Shot, Scumpy, Crim Six, Karma, like the COD goats, formal. Like there was a COD, like literally a COD dynasty, and I
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah,
yeah,
so that makes sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if once that like dynasty dies, like, do you still see like the same passion from like younger kids that come up, or is it just like me like being like a boomer on the outside, like thinking like they won't have the same connection that we used to have like when we grew up with this game?
I mean, I think you still have the same passion in the people that are playing, but the thing is, like, so like Gorsh said earlier, Scump, basically the LeBron James of fucking Call of Duty, right? The king. Like his nickname's King, right? He just retired
Yeah.
recently. And I was gonna ask Gorsh this too, like that's gonna change the scene a lot. So like if people will literally like the way COD works is people will literally, I mean Optic specifically, he's on Optic, he was on Optic, that matchup usually gets way more viewers than like any other matchup usually.
Yeah.
And like that's gonna change the scene after he retires. So I was wondering like what do you think of like the CDL or the Call of Duty League going after he retires? Like do you think it'll like drop or it'll like because like he was like the face of COD. It's like if LeBron James retires or something.
And before you answer, like how much is like the scene based on players versus like the actual game? Because for me, like I see like players make up like a huge portion of it, and now that they're retiring and going out of it, does that kind of cause like concern for like the scene as they move forward?
I think when the league first started, it was very much so based around the players because you'd shifted from all these teams that were competing together to now only 12 teams. So all the rosters got mixed up. Everyone was like switched around. So it was like the team that you're supporting in this new 12 team format is literally based on like whichever players you like the most, and where they're playing now. So
Isn't it like any other sport though? Like, I mean, there's always gonna be those old players like the OGs, Kobe Bryant, like RIP, like LeBron James, right? People evolve, but like you still get attached like the newer players coming into the league, and you still like hype them up. But like it's more you're following a team. You think there'll be that transition where people kind of just latch onto a team and players come and go, or it'll still always kind of are we still a long way from that kind of transition and people are more about the players than the team right now?
no, it's the first year of the league it was very player based, but since then like people have now become accustomed to the new teams that were created city based. I mean, there's still like the old orgs owning them, but it's like if I'm like let's say NRG in the first year, or yeah, if I'm NRG, like I didn't exist in the CDL as NRG, I existed as like Chicago Huntsman. So people knew like, oh, if I was an NRG fan, I can support Chicago now. But yeah, like I think now that we're like 4 years into the league, people have gotten a chance to get used to those teams, like the history behind them. One thing that helps that is the fact that like you still have like the Optic brand. God, you still have FaZe, you still have 100 Thieves, right? So
Because it's
yeah,
Atlanta FaZe, right? Atlanta FaZe, Optic Tech.
Atlanta FaZe, yeah. But it's just like I think there's a foundation for it for sure, but it still depends on like how good of a job those teams do on like building their brand and their fan
Right.
base, because at the end of the day, like that's what you want people to connect with. You don't want it to be a situation where like you have a player get traded all of a sudden, no fans, right? So
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing too, like with like people like Nadeshot and all that, like back in the day, like not only were they on a COD professional team, they grinded their content. And I don't see that many pro players nowadays grinding the content side of things either.
That's what I was gonna say, KV. Like for me, like when I look at like the scene, like League of Legends scene now, I feel like the newer players that come in, they just don't have a personality versus like the old school ones. So if you don't have a personality, at least for me, like it's hard for me to connect to you and makes me actually want to watch the game. Like that's like at least that's what I've seen for like the newer like 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds that come in versus like the older like veteran players that like kind of have a personality around them. Like I don't know if that's the same case in CDL, like
it
where like
is. Well, it is, but I think that like harms the players the most because of like of course as a team you can like of course like build content off of your players having a personality, but at the end of the day like you're still going to use all your funding and stuff to build your brand regardless of like if your players have personalities or not, right? Like I mean, good example of it is FaZe where like of course you have Simp making all that content, but like Seligman and Beezy, they're very like by the book. They spend all their time practicing, or like Illy on Optic, right? So they're having those brands grown regardless. Like Optic isn't gonna have Illy, who's like a great player, but just doesn't like do content a lot and like not grow their brand. I think where it really affects the players is like if let me like reset a bit. I think what it is like teams can survive with players that don't have personalities because at the end of the day, like their legacy is built off of like results and how many tournaments they've won historically. But for those players, like they're gonna reach a point where maybe like the next game isn't the best for them, over time they get worse. And once they retire, if they haven't laid that foundation of like interacting with the fans, growing their personality, growing their recognition, and making content, like they're gonna be lost, bro. Like that's the hardest part about 12 team franchising. It's not like if you're a retired or like a not retired, but like if you're an aging veteran, you're shooting slower, but you still have like that leadership, you can go to a smaller team, still get paid. It's like you only have 12 teams in the pro scene. That's 4 players per team, 48 spots total. If you're not one of the 48 best players in the world, you better figure it out.
Yeah.
And best way to do that is by grinding content. So
It's
it's
almost
more
like
of
a
like a
sacrifice.
it's a
Like you have to,
sacrifice, yeah, and
yeah.
it's down to the players.
I think back in the day too, it was like you had these like teams where investments in like capital investors didn't get involved. So it's like you had these team houses. You had people like
Hmm.
kind of struggling, you know, like and they're just like creating content like daily. And now you don't have that because of these investment bankers, and you have to return a profit and stuff like that to the, like, you know, your like investors and stuff like that. So now it's more business focused. Back in the day, it was more content focused, in my opinion. And yeah, content still exists a lot, right? It's
Hmm.
most of your business is content now,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's not the same. Like, I used to watch. I don't know if you were ever an Optic fan. I used to watch the Flycast, like Optic,
Hmm.
Maniac and Hitch, right? Like that's the reason I wanted to do this podcast personally too, because I like their vibes are fucking like immaculate, and like these are my boys,
Hmm.
so it's like the same type of feel. And I used to watch them just for fun, you know, like nothing serious or anything like that. Now it's like I feel like just the content side of thing gets business involved too, so it's like kind of sucks.
I feel like you just like kind of sacrifice the emotional attachment for like a outsider that's trying to get into like if I as a person who just like picked up Call of Duty and like started playing it, getting better and like wanted to watch some pro players like see like how a good player plays the game. For me, like all right, it's not like one specific player that I will like keep on rewatching again because I feel like all of them are gonna be the same like level of personality. Whereas
Hmm.
like back in the day, like you can see some dude might not be as good, but he'll just be, funny, and I'll just kind of create an emotional attachment. So he might
Yeah.
not be the best player, but I'll be more inclined to watch a game that he's on because like I have an emotional attachment to that player, regardless of how his performance is. Like obviously I want him to like succeed, but like that's like where like, you become like a more of like a fanatic for like the actual game versus just a bystander who just sees like this revolving door of people going in, people going out, people going
Hmm.
in, people going out. So I mean, I don't know. It's good in one end, like you have like these big ass salaries, but at the end of the day, it's just like, like if you truly love esports, I feel like you should find the balance of like that emotional attachment and like, try to preserve that. But I don't even know if that's possible with franchising.
Yeah. Nah, I think it's just down to the players to understand that like again, like you can perform well, but like you're not gonna grow a fan base and by doing no content unless like you are the best player in the league. Like if Simp didn't make content, people would still see him like dominate the stats and be like, okay, if I'm watching someone's gameplay, I want to see that guy because he has the best POV.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like it's just again personal responsibility because once you leave the league or you don't have a pro spot, like you need to survive somehow. And a good like warning sign of that is like esports orgs wanting to switch to like also being lifestyle brands because they know that we're in an era where you can't just rely on like your players and content to boost your brand. You also have to be like exploring the lifestyle space. Like that's why you see orgs focusing on merch so much, right? And merch that isn't just like screaming gamer,
Yeah.
right? Merch that's collabing with other people, like Team Liquid doing like a Naruto drop, right? Shit like that.
Yeah. All right. So we usually do this segment called Songs of the Week at the end of the episode, and we
Yeah.
just, list a song that we've been fucking with a lot recently. It could be anything Punjabi, Hindi, Spanish, English.
Better not be Hindi, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. I've been fucking with Wasted, by Diplo, Kodak, and Kowetzel. Fire ass song. It has like a country. I've been getting into country a little bit recently. You have Morgan Wallen and stuff coming up too, like with Lil Durk, but like that's my song of the week. Wasted.
Rick, you up?
Mine's gonna be Bora Bora, TV Gucci.
I have no
I
idea.
don't know that song, bro.
Trust.
Mine's all right. So this is KB's about to give me shit. It came out like 2 years ago. I just found it today. It's called Galkure by
Oh
Mhm.
SV.
my God,
Yeah,
bro.
that song is fire. Just been listening to it on repeat today.
Gersh, what's your song? Do you have a
I
song?
mean, Bro, I listen to everything. I think just top of mind, it's probably Tandrak by Himmat Sandhu.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you guys know Sangtar, like the YouTuber, but his brother like produces hella songs. And so
Icky.
he made that one. Yeah, Icky. He made that one too. I was browsing his music, found that, and the song's pretty fire, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Icky's really on the come up.
yes.
All right. This has been another episode of Brown Boy Chronicles. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you for watching the Brown Boy Chronicles. We appreciate all the support you guys give us. All of our episodes can be found on every streaming platform. If you guys want to follow us on any social media, it can be found in the episode description. Also, if you guys have any business inquiries, please feel free to email us at brownboychronicles1@gmail.com. Thank you.